Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome. Sorry. Sarah, I know that you raised your hand. Could you just type in the chat window, and our co-host will be able to handle the chat window questions and Q&A. So we will have all the questions answered by the end of this webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, which is entitled How Do You Walk Safely? A look into using experiential learning to reduce slips, trips, and falls. This webinar is organized by the IEA International Ergonomic Association Slip Trips Falls Technical Committee and endorsed by IEA. My name is Sophia Lee. I'm the Slip Trips Falls Tech Committee co-chair. I'm a scientist at the Kite Research Institute, Toronto Rehab Institute, which is part of University Health Network, located in Toronto, Canada. And Takeshi, would you like to introduce yourself as co-chair?
Yeah, good morning and good afternoon and good evening. I'm participating from Japan at 11 o'clock midnight. And thank you very much, everyone, to join this IEA webinar. My name is Takeshi Yamaguchi from Tokyo University in Japan. I'm also a co-chair of the Slips, Trips, and Fall Technical Committee of IEA. Please enjoy today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now, most important, I would like to introduce our presenter, Nadia Afara, who is a Health and Safety Manager at Canada Post, where she has successfully leading the nationwide implementation of the groundbreaking slip simulator project since 2022. A professional engineer and a certified safety professional, Nadia holds both a bachelor's and master's degrees in chemical engineering and brings over 15 years of experience in process engineering and health and safety. Throughout her career, Nadia has spearheaded numerous safety improvement initiatives, compliance projects, and engineering innovations, combining technical expertise with a passion for creating safer workplace. So we're really fortunate to have Nadia today to present the work that has been done at Canada Post, and also we're very lucky to have our panelist, Kim Good, who is a health and safety advocate who serves as a manager of health and safety at Canada Post. Now I would hand the mic to Nadia, and Nadia, you can start sharing your screen while I have a couple of housekeeping notes for everyone. So everyone, this webinar is recorded and will be available on the IEA YouTube channel. And during the presentation, please feel free to put questions in the chat window or in the Q&A section. And we will answer the question after the presentation. Also, we do have 3 questions that we will launch after the presentation, which is part of the IEA certification process. So if you answer those questions, and the IEA will send you a attendee as education certificate to you. So now we have Nadia to start her presentation. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you so much, Sophia. This was a great introduction, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today with everyone, showcasing the amazing initiatives at Canada Post for reducing our slip, trip, and fall injuries. So let me just elaborate a little more on who we are as a health and safety team at Canada Post. I'm really proud to be part of an amazing team of safety enablers and innovators. We all work together relentlessly to make sure that our employees make it safe and make it home every single day. We tackle both physical safety and psychological safety and have so many projects on the go to continue to improve our safety performance. We all work towards the same purpose of building a stronger Canada delivered. As Sophia mentioned, my name is Nadia Afara, and I'm so pleased to be playing the role of leading the implementation of the slip simulator training for at Canada Post, amongst all these projects that we are also working on. I'm also really pleased to have Kim Gould here with me, our great colleague who's also part of this team. And Kim has also led several initiatives that have significantly reduced slip, trip, and falls at Canada Post. Kim has over 25 years of health and safety experience, and also including cultivating culture within a corporation. And she's member of the Slip, Trip, and Falls Committee of the International Ergonomics Association, and also part of the Minerva Canada board. So thank you, Kim, for being here. All right, so to begin with, I would like to start with a land acknowledgement, which is an important part of our Indigenous reconciliation in Canada. So some of you may not be familiar with land acknowledgement, but it is a way to recognize and show respect for the Indigenous peoples who have lived on this land for thousands of years and continue to do so today. It reminds us of the deep histories and ongoing connections Indigenous communities have with these territories. Doing this is an important step in fostering understanding and reconciliation, which are key to building stronger and more inclusive communities. So without further ado, I'm really pleased to be living in Ottawa, Ontario, and I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the First Peoples whose land I'm situated in today. The peoples of the Anishinaabe Algonquin nature have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. I would like to honor the peoples and land of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. I express gratitude to the Algonquins for being the caretakers of the Ottawa River watershed and its tributaries. I could speak for myself and my family how much we enjoy this land and the great hikes that we do, the beautiful sights and the beaches that we go to. We honor their long history of welcoming many nations to this beautiful territory and uphold and uplift the voice and values of our host nations. So I'd like to kick off this topic with a question to all of you. And again, I forgot to mention, but thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate your interest in reducing slip, trip, and falls. So please enter your comments in the chat on what techniques do you use when you walk? How do you make sure that you are safe and that you don't trip and fall? So Kim, I'll count on you to read the comments.
Sure. So first one in from Dana, I take tiny steps and watch where I'm walking. Small,
Great.
short steps, looking at the ground while walking, keeping knees bent and don't take big steps are some of the things that I'm seeing here. Wait on, walk with purpose, looking ahead, being sure to be sure-footed. Avoid icy surfaces. Lots of great suggestions coming in.
I love that. And honestly, a lot of you are already on the right track for, avoiding slip, trips, and falls. So that's great. But I did hear some people saying, they look forward. And this is a habit that a lot of us have. I'll put myself in that group as well, at least before I came across the slip simulator project, where we for good reason, right? We want to make sure that before we take the next step, that we are making sure there's no hazards or we're not stepping on anything that could lead us to fall. So unfortunately, though, we are not setting ourselves up for success when we look down and we walk. Why is that? Because when we look down, we are actually shifting a huge portion of our body weight, about 10 to 20 pounds. Our heads are quite heavy. So by shifting that weight forward, we are disrupting the natural balance that we have when our backs are straight. And so when we do encounter an unexpected surface, we're less likely to keep stability and react quickly enough to avoid that fall. So, but we all have that habit of doing this, right? We all know that, bad habits stick like glue. So here's the big question here. How do we convince people that, they could still be looking out for hazards, but without looking forward? And actually, they're supposed to do the complete opposite of that, which is remaining straight. How do we convince them and really demonstrate it to them so that they can remember it and apply it? So this is where experiential learning comes to the rescue, so that we can really help them break out of these habits. In fact, these habits alone and a combination of several factors are what cause slip, trip, and falls to be a leading cause in injury, whether in industry or just day-to-day life. At Canada Post, this is also the case, unfortunately. Now, there are several factors within our control that can help minimize slip, trip, and falls. And I'm pleased to say we have leveraged those factors, and we have seen a great decrease in our injuries year over year. However, the numbers still remain way too high, right? In 2023 alone, we had 40% of all our injuries and also 40% of all our lost time injuries that were due to slip, trips, and falls. And just to be a bit more specific, we have close to 1,000 total injuries and 546 lost time injuries in 2023. It's great that we have made strides in improving our injury numbers. However, we still have a ways to go. We need to slash these numbers even further. So this is why we've decided to pursue the slip simulator training at Canada Post and working towards the nationwide implementation. Just to give you a visual, this is I have a mobile unit here and a fixed unit. So the fixed unit gets installed permanently in a classroom, but the mobile unit carries that unit around across the country to reach as many people as possible. So we'll be focusing on this in a bit, but before getting too deep into the slip simulator, let's take a closer look at what really causes slip, trip, and falls and what's within our control. And I saw Rob Shaw has joined the call today. I have listened to a presentation that he also presented to the STF Technical Committee a few years ago. And Rob Shaw is an expert in the UK in minimizing slip, trip, and falls and has devoted his career to, counseling a lot of industries on how to improve their numbers. He talks in a lot of detail, gives a lot of great tips about workplace design, flooring, work practices, and human performance. He explains how, having contrasting colors or reflective surfaces can enhance the visibility and minimize the chances of missteps. He also talks about designing handrails that are smaller and more circular for better grip and many other things. So if you haven't seen that presentation, I'd encourage you to see it on that website. It's really great. But here's the challenge that we face at Canada Post. We have 35,000 employees, that's delivery agents, who deliver mail every single day across the entire country. And that constitutes about half of our entire employee population at Canada Post. So when we are talking about employees walking across the country, we really only have a limited amount of factors that we can play around with, such as footwear, work practices, and to some extent, human performance. And, as I showed you earlier, we have leveraged what's in our control to reduce our slip, trip, and fall injuries. And I'd like to just touch a little bit on what we've already done, because those are all great initiatives. For instance, Kim Gould and Sophia from the Kite Institute, who's hosting this meeting, have partnered together to implement our Snowflake Boots program at Canada Post. Such a fantastic program. Now, all our employees have access to purchase these Snowflake boots that are designed to have a higher coefficient of friction on their soles and have been tested in the Kite Institute's winter lab to see which ones perform best. And the ones that perform best are what our employees have access to. In fact, the first winter that we implemented them, we did this analysis, and as you could see, we have been able to show a reduction in slip, trip, and falls injuries for employees who did purchase these boots. And a lot of you also ask about crampons. We do provide also our employees the opportunity to purchase crampons for when it's applicable, for the areas that it applies and that they can be used. So this is great. When we talk about work practices, like many other companies, we do have our policies and our tools. We do provide our supervisors with the talk tracks to enable them to have safety conversations with employees and continue to spread awareness among employees. We also, especially during the holidays, we try to make their life easier because the holiday time is where we see the largest amount of volumes, which means a higher risk of injuries. So we try to make their life easier by providing them this holiday one-stop shop that really has all the links and resources they need to be able to keep their employees safe. And I'd like to also touch a little bit on our behaviors. And actually, Kim Gould has done a great job over the last 2 years promoting these behaviors across the country. We've recently implemented them, and those are the behaviors we believe will lead us to improving our overall culture and achieving our Stronger Canada Delivered purpose. But one key behavior that we really encourage specifically our delivery agents to practice is making the call. We count on our delivery agents to have, because they're the ones who see all these hazards that we don't necessarily are made aware of. So we count on them to see these hazards and to make the call when it's not safe enough to deliver, and then to let us know so that we can then help make the workplace safer. So those are all great behaviors that we hope they continue to apply. And last but definitely not least, and Rob Shaw does touch on incident reporting in his presentation, it is very important to report both, injuries, but also near misses, like when people slip and they almost fall, but then they don't. These are important to be aware of. And with our new and improved incident management system, we are hoping now that team leaders will be more encouraged to report on these incidents, but also it'll enable us to have a better means to analyze the data. So we can identify these high-risk areas and see how much more we could do to improve employee safety. So back to this diagram, as you could see, we have leveraged a lot of factors that are within our control to improve safety. And there's no doubt that by providing employees with proper equipment and improving the work practices, that it will impact human performance. But let's not forget about the habit piece, right? How do we really focus a bit more on human performance and convince them to walk safely and not look down, which will not set them up for success when they encounter hazards. And this is where the slip simulator will come to our rescue. So I'm really pleased to be sharing this video that was generated by one of the companies who leveraged this training, the Ontario Power Generation. And it'll give you a good background about it, and then we could chat. So please let me know if somehow you don't hear it, but I will play it right now.
Okay, the idea is to have a flat foot, flat foot, flat foot, flat foot. And the reason being is, if you're stepping flat-footed, all of that force is going straight down, and you've got it over a larger surface area. So you're not doing this or this. And that's really the idea behind this. When you find these conditions, avoidance is key. I mean, if you can avoid the conditions, that's really the key. But if you can't, what we want you to do is snap up, chest out, shoulders back, flat foot, flat foot. And that cognitive mind gets a model once it's on here, and that's the model that takes place when these conditions dictate.
All right, so hope you enjoyed this video. I'd like to hear from you again in the chat. What are the key takeaways from this video? What resonated with you? So again, Kim.
Yeah.
Any comments shared?
I see one. Yeah. Heads up.
Yeah.
Keep your head
Heads
up.
Yeah.
Flat shoulders, flat feet.
Mm-hmm.
Weight distributed evenly over the whole foot.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like they
got
the message.
They got the key message. But here's what the key thing about, you know, this training is that it's experiential learning. And that's the whole idea and why it's so promising, and several companies are adopting it. But let's, before we continue with the key takeaways, I'm just going to pause and elaborate a little more on why experiential learning has been shown to be effective at helping people learn. So some of you may recognize this pyramid from the National Training Laboratory that was built after, you know, doing a lot of research. And from this pyramid, it clearly indicates that, you know, when employees practice as they're learning, if they're actually practicing the techniques right away, there is a 75% higher retention rate, or the retention rate is 75%, especially compared with, let's say, reading or visuals, or, you know, just attending a classroom session. So it has been shown to improve retention rates. We also know, and as you could see from the training, you know, the employees are engaged and they're having fun, right? Let's not forget this. They're having fun, they're laughing, they laugh at their own mistakes, laugh at their colleagues in a nice way, but, you know, they're having a good time. So they're more likely, as studies have shown, to follow procedures when they learn while enjoying themselves and being more engaged. And obviously, when you are practicing those techniques, you are building that muscle memory. So then it becomes a lot more instinctive and natural when comes the time to apply those techniques. So the reaction time is improved. So back to the key takeaways. Other than experiential learning, we also can see that the slip simulator is not just about teaching people to walk on slippery surfaces. We want to make sure to tackle their day-to-day hazards that they are exposed to. We have seen firsthand internally, when we've done some studies, that ramps and stairs are one of the leading causes of slip, trip, and falls at Canada Post. So we really want to make sure to give them and mimic their environment by adding those obstacles. And we want to make sure they're safe year-round, not just in the winter. And again, a lot of you touched on the technique, which is great. Heads up, we shouldn't be looking down, shoulders back, and flat feet. And, you know, having your heads up, you could still see the hazards ahead of time and plan for them. You don't have to be looking down in order to avoid hazards. And the flat feet is something none of us are accustomed to walking with flat feet. So, you know, it's a habit that you need to build. And by going through this training, you really, you will be convinced that this is a good way to do it, right? So what they do is they make you walk normally, the way you would normally do it, and then walk by applying the new techniques that you've learned, and you will see like the huge difference that they make. So it's good to practice it, and then you build that muscle memory. So all of this combined is what leads to the exciting part about this, the outcome, which is up to a 70% reduction in injuries that has been shown in a study. And which is why a lot of companies worldwide, including ourselves, have started adopting this training. So a bit more on the, you know, the injury reduction piece and its worldwide use. So here are some case studies that I'd like to share with you. So to begin with, in 2023, the Minnesota Department of Transportation is one of the many companies that have adopted the slip simulator training. And they really appreciated how allowing employees to practice it and building that muscle memory is the best way to really ingrain those great techniques in people's minds. We've also seen recently that Amazon in Denver, who already had groundbreaking training programs for their employees to ensure their safety, also adapted the slip simulator training. And they actually recognized that of all the trainings that they've implemented, the slip simulator was most effective at reducing injuries. They are now down by 50% in terms of slip, trip, and fall injuries. That's great and very encouraging. But I'd also like to highlight the key study that I believe Kim Gould came across a few years ago, which initiated this project in the first place before I took over the leadership, is the one that was performed in the US. It was a controlled study that showed that the employees who completed the in-harness training saw a 70% reduction in slip, trip, and falls compared to the control group who did not complete the training. But what was also really exciting about these results is that employees who simply observed the training but still participated and were engaged did see also a reduction in slip, trip, and fall injuries by 30%. So if people are not comfortable going into the harness, they are more than welcome to observe and learn. So we decided to see what the slip simulator could do for us at Canada Post, and we underwent a very successful pilot in 2022 that I'm very pleased to share with you today. This is the slip simulator that we leased during the pilot. And so as you could see here from the images, we did make sure not only to use the obstacles that come with the slip simulator, including ramps, staircases, and curbs, but we also wanted to give letter carriers some props per se that they use in their day-to-day life. For example, the satchels and the parcel, to really make sure that they have a good representation of what they typically would do. So this pilot lasted about 16 weeks, started early August and then up until late November. For the first 3 weeks, we had the suppliers of the slip simulator, who are in Biodyne, and those trainers are the ones who gave the training in the beginning, after which our own Canada Post trainers took over once they were trained to do so. We accomplished 21 stops going from Windsor, Ontario, which is a city in the southwestern part of Canada, near the US border, all the way to out east in the Atlantic province of New Brunswick, in the city of St. John. We also spent quite a bit of time in the Greater Toronto area, where we have the largest population of delivery agents across our provinces. So we were able to tackle a lot of key sites in those areas. We had collaboration as well from our joint health and safety committees, both national and local. And we ensured that the participation was voluntary for this pilot, and participants had the option to either do in-harness training or observe. But how was the training received? How did the employees find this training? Well, I am pleased to share with you some awesome feedback that we got from a 24% survey response rate. The comments speak to themselves. And honestly, just looking at these amazing comments, it really does ignite my pride. Ignite our pride is one of our behaviors that I've mentioned earlier, because really all this work that we do the goal is to help these employees who do this work every single day. And so to see that they appreciate it and see the value of it really makes it all worthwhile. So just, absorb this beautiful comments that we've received. Again, 100% positive feedback. There was no negative comments whatsoever. But did we manage to reduce injuries during this pilot? I'm pleased to say, short answer is, it looks very promising that we are reducing injuries thanks to that pilot. So if we want to focus just on the pilot sites, and to begin with, if we look at the winter following the pilot, and focus on just lost time injuries, you could see that none of the trained employees have experienced a lost time slip, trip, and fall injury that winter. If we want to look at the percentage, that's obviously 0% of the trained employees compared to 3% of the untrained employees. Now, still focusing on the winter, but now looking at all injuries, not just slip, trip, lost times, we could now see that 3% of the trained employees got injured. However, compared to the untrained employees of 24%, that's quite the difference. Now, if we look at 1 year post-pilot, so for each site, what were the injury numbers a year later? And again, focusing simply on lost time injuries, we could see that 1 trained employee got injured, which is it's close to 0% of all the trained employees. But 6% of the untrained employees got injured a year post-pilot. And here's where it looks even more promising, is that when we look at all the injuries 1 year post-pilot, we could see that 8% of the trained employees experienced some form of a slip, trip, and falls injury compared to 51% of the trained employees. So yes, these results look very promising. I have to add, though, there is about, out of the 550 employees who did get trained, there's 60 of them for which we don't have a training record. So we cannot speak to whether or not these 60 employees got injured. But these data are very much representative of the 483 that we did have records for. So not perfect, but still looking very promising. And so clearly, given how the employees appreciated the training and how promising it is in reducing our injuries and also demonstrated in industry, we decided to move forward with the nationwide implementation of this training. And this is just like the most exciting thing right now for me. It's just great to see, and it really, again, ignites my pride, how we are investing in our employees' well-being despite all the challenges that we're facing, and also just celebrating the success. So I'm pleased to speak a little more about where we're at right now with the Slip Simulator nationwide implementation and what we would love to achieve in a few years from now. So the phase 1 is complete. Really exciting. We purchased 2 mobile units. And as you can see here, our branding team did such a fantastic job decorating it and showcasing what Canada Post is all about. You could see the Make It Safe, Make It Home logo that we promote across the country. And these mobile units are not quite mobile just yet. They are stationed long-term at our 2 facilities that receive the largest number of delivery agents who start, the new delivery agents who go get their trainings when they first start working at Canada Post. So right now we are focusing on these new delivery agents. Our studies have shown that new delivery agents are more prone to injury. So we do want to make sure that we focus on them to begin with. And we invite them to attend this 1-hour session where they can choose whether they want to simply observe the training or volunteer to be in the harness. And so far, it's been looking really good. We've trained several employees already, close to 300. So really excited about that. So what's next? We already have our 2 mobile units. One is in the Montreal area and one is in the Greater Toronto area, training new delivery agents. So we want to continue doing this injury analysis to see how these slip simulators are benefiting us. But in parallel, we also are discussing the next phases. We really want to start talking about how we can further expand this training across the country. So we are hoping to purchase yet a 3rd unit that we want to have around the western side of Canada and have these units do annual roadshows, meaning going from as many sites as they can every year and reaching as many employees as possible. We really want to make sure also to, year over year, do refresher trainings for these employees just to keep it, fresh in their minds and keep those habits, the good habits going. So this is kind of what we have in mind, but we don't want to forget about the new employees because, like I mentioned, they are more vulnerable to injuries. And so we would like to be able to install permanent units at those delivery agent schools that receive the most amount of new employees so that we can continue to train them straight off the bat and set them up for success right as they begin their career at Canada Post. So this is really exciting. I'm really pleased to be part of this project. And but I cannot emphasize enough how this project would have never, ever come to life without the amazing and outstanding dedication of several teams at Canada Post. It would take me so long to name every single person I worked with, but as you could see here, it's teams, multifunctional teams across the country, both national and local. And to be honest, one of our also signature behavior is delivering from others. I have seen firsthand how these people working on this project have delivered for others. Their dedication to wanting to reduce our #1 cause of injury and did everything they could in their power to make this project a success. I cannot thank them enough. Everyone has been amazing. I've truly enjoyed working with all these people, and I look forward to continuing to collaborate as we continue to expand this and reduce our #1 cause of injury. So on this note, I'd like to show you a little sneak peek of our promotional video that we will use once we start doing our roadshows. So obviously, we will probably be editing some of those footages to something more modern to showcase our new and nice looking slip simulators, because these pictures are from the pilot phase, but it'll still look something like that. So without further ado.
Want to walk more safely? A unique program for employees is coming your way. You'll get to practice walking on slippery surfaces in an innovative apparatus called the Slip Simulator. This type of technology has been used all over the world. It can simulate slippery surfaces with various obstacles, such as a broken sidewalk, ramp, or curb. A study of the simulator's effectiveness at the Los Alamos National Laboratory showed a 70% reduction in slips, trips, and falls for trained personnel. It's an important program because slips, trips, and falls are still the leading cause of injuries at Canada Post. Safely strapped in a harness, you'll get to practice techniques to improve your stability and reduce the risk of falling. Participation is voluntary.
Oops. Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, thank you again so much for this great attendance and participation. I really appreciate your time and welcoming any questions that you may have. But Sophia, I'll let you lead the next part.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Excellent presentation. And I already see there's quite a few questions in the chat window and the Q&A. But let us do the poll and the questionnaire first. Hopefully, we'll all get it right. So I'm going to start the first question. And do you see the question on your, yeah, okay. So you can start to answer. Yeah, I can see the answer comes in. And I will give people a little bit time to think. I know you probably haven't done quiz for quite a while. I guess Nadia will know the right answer.
So
All
yeah,
right. We currently have 46 attendees, and I say that we have 23 in there, 24. Yeah, so I think even you answer the poll and you decide you don't want the IEA certificate, please just send me an email. And then I will be able to remove your name from the list that I'm going to send to IEA to obtain the certificate. And I will type in my email in the chat window. So, but if you participate in the poll and I believe you finish all 3 questions, you should be able to get the certificate. All right, so I think we are getting to 31 answers. Yeah, and I will give you maybe 2 more seconds. All right, so I think at the moment, the popular answer is 75%. I'm going to end the poll now and going to start the next questions. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to end this one. All right, so I can share the answer with everyone. And do you see the answer? So you can see the 75 has 70%. answered. Right. So second one. What's happening here? Why I couldn't launch? Okay. Yes. Apparently I'm not very good at the...
Do we want to take one of our questions while we're waiting for the
Yes, please.
for the second question?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So we've got a question here from Rob, and I believe Rob, you were mentioned in the presentation today. Has there been any work or is any planned in the future to assess the retention of the training and determine a reasonable period in which refresher training is likely to be necessary to maintain the behaviors?
That's a really good question and definitely a good point to bring up and to consider in the future. I think right now, the way we're assessing retention is just to see the injury numbers. So we'll have to see over time. We'll have, let's say, some injury analysis this year and then see how it compares to next year, right? So then we could compare the learnings, like have we seen a decrease in performance or has it remained the same? So we could try to kind of assess the retention from that manner. But it's a great question and definitely something we want to keep in mind as we're going along.
All right, and I figured out how to launch the second question, and it's already, I think people pass the answer in, and seems that this one is probably a little bit easier. All right, and I think I will give maybe another 10 seconds for these questions. All right. Yeah, so if for some reason you couldn't participate in the questionnaire, but you still want to have the certificate, you can also send me the email I'm pretty sure I can send you the questionnaire and then you can answer it. And then we still be able to send you the certificate. All right, so now we have quite a few answers, and I'm going to end the poll in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to go back to start the third one so we can get the questionnaire part finished. So now I'm launching the third one. So please put in your
50-50. No.
It's looking like we have a winner.
Yeah, and that's the correct answer.
Yeah, I think I will give everyone another maybe 5 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm going to end this poll. And I'm going to share the results of this one because I think this one actually have people choose all 4 options. But we do have a clear winner, which is 30% to 70%. All right, so I'm going to put my email in the chat window. And if you didn't do the poll, like especially I believe you need to do all 3 questions. If you didn't get a chance to do all 3, send me email and I will send you the question. And then we can have the certificate sent out to you. All right. Okay, so now, Kim, I guess I will let you to look through all the questions and then Nadia, you can answer them accordingly.
Perfect. Yeah, I have one here from Tony. He asks, why do some employees not want to wear the harness? Does that not protect them from falling? So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yes, no, for sure. So first of all, we do not actually recommend the harness for people with certain physical conditions, or if they've had surgeries, or, are pregnant. So there are certain conditions for which it is best for them not to do the harness training. We do have those listed, and we make sure to go over with them. Some employees, though, are also worried about, even though they're not going to actually fall, they're not worried about falling and hurting themselves falling. They're worried about an ergonomic injury as a result of, just going, whoa, and then just like they could jolt their back, or uh, pull a muscle or something like this. So a lot of them are concerned about that, even though technically we don't have any records of injuries for that reason. But some are just concerned. And
Great,
yeah.
thank you. We have another one here from James. Any plans to bring this to the seniors population?
So I like the seniors, I guess, just like a Canada
I
Post.
probably think, well, I think that's a great question from the perspective of, I'm not sure if folks are aware, but our median age is quite high at Canada Post. When people come to work here, they stay here long into their 70s and 80s, believe it or not, here at Canada Post. So I don't know, Nadia, if you have any comments about the general folks that have participated in the the pilot and.
So yeah, like right now we're focused on new employees, but when we do start doing those road shows, that'll include any employee who's interested well, it's going to require every employee to participate when the slip simulator goes to their site, but they'll have the option to do the harness or observe. So we won't, like, any senior or new employees will be welcome to participate for sure.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions from our panelists?
Yeah, can I have a question? Nadia?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for a great talk. And I am very interested in the slippery surface system. You didn't use any liquid, but you made a very slippery surface using a combination of maybe a footwear and floor surface. How did you make it?
So we do use a liquid. We actually spray the surface with soapy water.
Really? All right.
And so in addition to all that, it makes it slippery. Yeah. Because otherwise, yeah.
But the liquid is not so more large, very thin, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't know, because we're literally just spraying it, right? We're not like pouring it on top. It's just a little thin layer of liquid.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? I just see one came in here to the question box. I observed a step on the ramp on the simulator in the video. Just wondering if there's other obstacles to be placed on the simulator, like tree branches and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we do need to take care of the glass surface. So we have to, the obstacles really have to be the ones that come with the slip simulator. We wouldn't recommend having those tree branches because they could damage the surface of the glass. So we try to put as many obstacles as we can, or tripping hazards there. But we wouldn't be able to physically just mimic like actual real life hazards.
Perfect, thank you. And anybody else have a question for Nadia?
Yeah, from George, we had another question. What is a substrate?
Substrate
of maybe floor, I think.
The floor, it's glass, if that's the question. It's
Right.
tempered glass, so that, in case it breaks, we don't want our employees to get injured.
And one other question I see here from Stephanie, is the simulator on a ramp or is it a flat surface?
It's a flat surface, but we can add, one of the obstacles is a ramp. So it's like a ramp with a glass surface on it. And so people could practice on it. But the slip simulator has to actually be flat. And that's one of the criteria when we do go in another site. It's got to be on a flat surface.
Perfect. And I've got another one here from Dave. Thanks, Nadia, for your presentation. Can you speak to the behavior of walking speed and how this is applied to the slip simulator?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. And I think what we actually say is like small, quick steps. I believe. Yeah. So I think that's what we encourage. We don't necessarily say walk slowly, but quick steps with the flat feet. Especially when going on a ramp, we actually encourage them to go quicker so to avoid them from slipping backwards when they are on the ramp.
Perfect. And I see one more here from Thurman. I'm assuming it's, have you performed any stats to report?
So far, we have started looking into the stats, and I could say that so far, none of the employees who got trained got injured. So, but we really just started, and we started this fall. So this whole project was launched in the fall. But yeah, despite having trained about almost 300 employees, we have no injuries for these employees right now. So looking good, but too early to tell for sure.
Thurman's response is, that's amazing.
Thanks, Thurman.
Okay, we've got another one from an anonymous attendee here. In Biodyne, is that the company for the slip simulator?
Yes, that is the company in Biodyne. It's Industrial Biodynamics. It's the full name of it.
Perfect. I'm just looking to see if there's any more questions in the chat.
And I think I also have a question for Nadia. So you mentioned that, of course, I'm really proud that we worked together for the Snowflake program that used our Read My Treads program. And of course, currently Read My Treads is more focused on the winter footwear, and we do have a plan to expand to non-winter footwear using our new lab called Ramp Lab. So my question is, in your current data, have you looked at the difference between seasons, like the impact of this slip simulator, and like whether have impact on the seasonal difference in the injury rate?
Yeah, so we haven't quite incorporated the Snowflake boots in the analysis from the pilot, and we do want to incorporate that for the nationwide implementation. So as we're doing the injury results, we will be very much curious to incorporate like which percentage of these employees actually had Snowflake boots. But as you could see, though, like between the winter and the non-winter seasons, like when we looked at the full year, they both showed a great amount of injury reduction. So I think overall, like a lot of these employees must have purchased those boots in the winter by now. And so hoping that, you know, they have leveraged them in the winter as well, it may have helped. But at the same time, we also see that even in the summer days, we actually get even a higher percent difference in the summer days or in the fall days. So in the end, like the boots themselves they may have contributed, but it's hard to tell. But you know, like I said, we see the difference in both cases.
Thank you, Nadia.
And I see we have another question here from Chantel. Are employees also trained to detect slippery surfaces when they move across different surfaces with varying levels of slipperiness?
Yeah, and that's the thing. We talk about black ice a lot, right? And I think black ice could just take us by surprise. So the idea, again, like by looking ahead, first of all, you hope to be able to identify most of the hazards. But if you do apply those techniques with the flat feet and the head up and the shoulder up, and you do encounter black ice all of a sudden and you didn't expect it, you are less likely to fall as a result of that black ice. So you might like, you know, wiggle a little bit, but because your center of gravity is well balanced, you're less likely to fall.
Perfect. I don't see any more questions.
I think Kim, there is a comment in the chat window. I think it's a very powerful comment. Maybe we can share that comment.
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah, so from Mark, Nadia, oh gosh, am I going to do this okay? Manuhu, thank you for recognizing Canadian Native Nations. I personally am born in the Blackfeet Nation. Please feel free to contact me, from Mark.
Well, thank
Thank
you,
you
Mark.
very much, Mark. I think as a research institute and similar as Canada Post, we definitely want to work with everyone across Canada. And especially, I think we would like work more with people more in the remote area, and people actually probably experience even harsher winter conditions and other conditions. So definitely, I think thank you for attending the webinar and supporting us. With that, I think it's really high notes for our webinar. And thank you again, Nadia, Kim, for attending our webinar. And Takeshi, would you like to close today's webinar, please?
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining this IEA webinar. And thank you, Nadia and Kim, for a great talk. And we learned very much about the significance of the learning of sleep using sleep training. And training was very significant. Thank you very much. And we will plan another seminar in future as a end of the event of IEA. And so please join us again. Thank you very much. And have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
And
Thank you
good
so
night
much.
for people who is
Yeah.
really late. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you. Have a good day. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.